What's up, friends? Welcome back to Rooted Wisconsin, where we are dedicated to authentically sharing the stories of the people who drive Wisconsin culture. As we get year number 2 started, we are here to thank you. The same thing we did every episode in year number 1. Thank you for your likes, shares, subscribe. Thank you for engaging with our content. We make it for you. We appreciate you, and we wouldn't be here without you. So really excited to bring you year number 2 and see what it has in store. Shout out to our friends at Riverside Pizzeria in Green Bay, sponsor of Rooted Wisconsin. We've been talking about the pepperoncinis. You've got to get pepperoncinis if you like a little spice. They do like this pepperoncini paste. It's delicious. Got to eat it. And make sure you get cheese out. Shout out to Ryan and all the folks at Riverside Pizzeria. And also Joel and his crew at Wonder Sign. You can now see the Rooted Wisconsin mobile driving around the greater Wisconsin area. So when you see the decals, beep your horn as loud as you can. All right. And I'll wave back. So shout out to Wonder Sign. Great folks over there. If you need decals, shirts, graphics, signs, they've got you taken care of. And, of course, our friends at Discover Green Bay for the studio space. And that brings us to our next episode of Rooted Wisconsin, Marissa Michalkiewicz.
Bingo. There you go.
The A. I messed it up.
And all 13 letters.
Yeah. And you told me so many times, you were like, nickel cabbage.
You bet.
And then I ended up, what is that, a long A? I went instead of the short A.
Gonna be honest, I already forgot.
Yeah,
so you're good. I'm so used to it not being right that I'm like, yeah, that was accurate. Like, no, it actually wasn't. All good.
Yeah, so I want to continue that conversation. We were just talking about your name and how many times, like, walking up to the plate, like, you talked about the pause, but then, like, did anybody ever just not say it and just say, like, up to bat, Marissa? Nothing.
That's it. Yeah. It's like the Beyonce of sports. Just kidding. It was not that good. No, I think my favorite, because I played basketball too. So my favorite was always just waiting for the pause. And then the chuckle sometimes was the best, where they're just like, I'm so screwed. Like, this name is horrible. They didn't give me phonetics. But honestly, I don't remember if they've just left it as like, yeah, no, she doesn't have a last name. She's just Marissa. But no, it was almost disappointing when they got it right. I was like, lame. Yeah. So lame.
So you actually heard chuckles into the mic. Like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I was like, oh, they're underwater. And they're like, Marissa, oh God. So yeah, those were probably the best moments.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's probably a good place to start today. I'm really excited to chat with you. This is the first time we've met, but from afar, it seems as though you're really comfortable chasing your passions. And I'm really excited to talk about that. And I think that's one of the starting spots, right? Is athletics. Yeah. So I mentioned softball. You mentioned basketball. Did you play both I know you played softball at UWGB. Did you play basketball collegiately as well?
No, I did not. Playing both basketball and softball because I was at GB. So those are both D1 programs. Yeah. I don't know how people do 2 Division I programs in college. But no, just softball in college. High school, I also did golf. Okay. So don't ask me to go golfing with you. I refuse. Unless we're scrambling, then I can do that. But yeah, golf, basketball, and softball.
Golf was like your fun time? It
sure was. Yeah, I made the volleyball coach real upset. Actually, I made a lot of coaches upset. I'm a tall lady. So when I decided to play golf on a whim, it was a surprise. So.
All right, because girls golf is a fall sport.
It sure is.
Okay.
Yep. So I took a break.
Yeah.
Yep, I took a break.
I did the same. I was a 3-sport athlete too, and at that time, golf was my take a break. Hindsight, golf should have probably been my primary sport. It's the one I was best at. But
cool.
At that point, it was just like the same concept. How fun is it to go out and golf after school every day and not have to lift all the time or plyometrics and speed training.
Yes, and golf ended up being honestly my hardest sport mentally. It really made me more of a rounded athlete because you screw up mentally in golf. I mean, the rest of your game is over. You screw up hole 1 and then you're out to golf 17 more holes. I was like, wow, the mental strength it takes to play golf. So honestly, it helped. It worked out in my favor.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. It's definitely the hardest sport I play.
Sure is.
It's difficult.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
So you ended up playing collegiate softball. Was that your primary sport, would you say? Or how did that leap happen?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say basketball is more of my favorite sport to play, but softball was just something that I picked up and it was just natural, right? So I got a call from the coach at GB when I was, I think it was a junior or late sophomore in high school. And they're like, do you want to come play softball at GB? And I was like, sure. And my mom's like, Marissa, you should probably take this a little more seriously. I was like, okay, yeah, let's go on a tour. Let's go check this out. So we went to GB. Program was, it was a rebuilding type program. So they were working on the new complex at the time. So I was like, okay, this is great. But I really went to GB because of the combination of the business school with the environmental science school. So I'm a big nerd at heart. So it just worked out in my favor that I could play softball collegiately while doing something I was passionate about on the school side as well.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
you already were having that like internal dialogue about what you wanted to do in your career.
I sure did. I was actually a sophomore in high school, and put yourself back to 2010. And I'm this kid who's saying that she wants to go to school to study business and environmental science. And people would look at me like, you're going to be unemployed. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, it's business, it's practical. But I always loved environmental science and sustainability. Couldn't tell you why. I didn't come from a family of sustainability nerds, or my parents weren't in anything science related, but I just loved it. So sophomore year, I just made the declaration that I would eventually study business and environmental science, and it kind of evolved from there. But yeah, Green Bay just worked out perfectly that it had both programs that I really wanted.
Yeah, EcoU.
Eco, nice. You know your stuff. Yeah, EcoU, the pioneer of environmental science.
My undergrad is from GB too.
There we go. Okay.
That's awesome. And then the people that told you that didn't have the same foresight, because now
here we are. It's buzzwords. I know.
Absolutely.
And I was like, hey, look at that. It worked out in my favor. Maybe I'm psychic. No, totally not.
That's fantastic though that you had that foresight as like a sophomore, junior. I mean, not many people that age, especially having success in athletics, are thinking about your career path.
Correct.
So that's awesome. And so did you have other offers that you like ended up declining to come to GB, or like?
God, let's think back a little bit. I had a few, D1 offers, D2, lots of random D3s. I don't know what it was, but college was never like something I was ever looking towards, other than like, yeah, I'll eventually study this, but I didn't have a dream school, like I wasn't going to go to Madison or something like that. It's just like, it was just next in line. So I finished high school and I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I need to go to college. So it just worked. Shout out to Coach Riv for giving me a call, because who knows where I would have ended up, honestly.
That's so classic to like, there's so many people just like working and working, waiting for that offer. And your mom's like, you should do this one, I think.
And it happened just like that. And it sounds horrible. And I swear I'm not ungrateful, but I was just having so much fun in high school. Like I did so much. I look back on it now, I'm like, I don't know how I did it, because it wasn't just like I was a 3-sport athlete. I was a 4.0 student, big old nerd. I was yearbook editor. I was in the band, so I'm playing in the orchestra, the pep band. Literally, like my friends in the pep band. I was a percussionist, so those dorks who carry the big old bass drums. That was yours truly. So like I'm doing that. I'm playing sport. Just a weird kid. But yeah, I never thought like, oh yeah, college, I should probably focus. So shout out to my mom for telling me to take it a little more seriously.
So how did that end up playing out then? Because you hear awesome stories about like the collegiate athlete that takes their studies very seriously. Yeah. I feel like that's somewhat of an anomaly sometimes.
Sure.
And so how did that play out? Because I think what goes under the radar sometimes is the commitment it takes to be a successful D1 athlete. And then when you pair that with the commitment to be a successful college student, there's not a lot of time and effort to go around past that. So how did you balance those two things, especially being passionate about your studies?
Yeah, so I don't know what it is, but I have a pretty impressive ability to manage time. Also, I don't know how I did function on like 4 hours of sleep, but the key was no sleeping, and I think undiagnosed ADHD, honestly. But my freshman year of softball, our field was not a solid field to play on, so we were actually traveling 80% of that season. So then you take like, okay, you're a D1 athlete, you're waking up to train, you're traveling all the time. And so it just was a lot of school on the bus, which isn't good for a kid who's also motion sick as heck. So you're driving 14 hours to Youngstown, Ohio, and I'm like, I'm going to throw up, but I have to do my homework. So I don't know, it's just balanced time management and like really prioritizing both at the same time. I don't know if there's a secret recipe. It's just like, it takes a lot of focus. It really does.
Yeah. Most of it's the other things that get cut out, right? That other people are doing, probably some of the social life and the college experience and all of that thing.
Yeah, it was a sacrifice, and I'm sure it still is, obviously. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of your traditional going to the block parties or traveling to other campuses or traveling in general. It's just, you are an athlete, you are a student, and it's like your job. So that's how it was.
Yeah. So then, as that, where in the timeline then does Giveadaam Ventures come into play?
Yeah, so a little backstory on that. So I played softball for 2 seasons. We ended up winning conference after my sophomore year, and I said, you know what, this isn't it for me. So I said goodbye to softball for a bit. I stayed at GB because, again, really loved the business environmental science program. So I actually, my junior and senior year, I took it upon myself to do independent studies. So I worked with 2 of my professors at GB at the time. I was like, hey, I want to plan a sustainable business. And they're like, cool. I was like, can I get credit for it? And they're like, absolutely. So I ended up doing 3. 1 was a business focus and 2 were environmental, like sustainability focused. So it worked towards my certificate I was going for at the time too. I was in the MB program. So it's the Environmental Management and Business Institute. So I was like, this is great. How many things can I get to check off the same box here? So I ended up working for those 2 semesters on this business plan. And at the time, it was more like a business for kids to hang out at, like an entertainment spot. It wasn't what Giveadaam is today. It wasn't sustainable housing. But through my independent studies, I met an architect in Door County. Her name's Virg Temi, and she was nationally renowned for LEED certified design. So this woman was just hiding out in Sturgeon Bay, building these insanely eco-friendly homes. And I was working on a beach that summer going into my senior year, and I saw an article about her building these awesome homes in Door County. And I was like, I'm going to have her help me. So I don't remember if I emailed her or I called her, because clearly I have no shame. And I was like, hey, I'm working on these independent studies. Can I talk to you? And she's like, absolutely. So I ended up connecting with her. I think it was my junior into senior year. And after that, I just kept developing this concept of sustainable housing, and I ended up consulting with her, and that's how I started Giveadaam. So it honestly all started from college and independent studies and being impatient as heck to get started.
That's fascinating. And I mean, you talk about having no shame or whatever, but that's the kind of stuff that leads to success, being willing to just make that phone call.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, you do cool stuff. I want to do cool stuff.
Correct.
Can we do it together? That's the crux of it.
You bet.
So then what did it turn into? What is it today? What did you accomplish with it?
Yeah, so it was actually a year after I graduated from GB. So I was working for a company in the waste energy industry, and I was like, you know what, this isn't it for me. Ended up calling up Virg again, and I was like, hey, let me work for you. So when I was with her and I started to design this housing concept. But in time, it didn't end up working out, and I ended up consulting with a different architect who designed the Giveadaam house. But then I decided after a couple setbacks that it was a beautiful time to build this property during a global pandemic and a national supply chain shortage and you name it, throw in every other unfortunate thing that could happen. Mm-hmm. I just did it all in one go at, and it was lovely. But ended up building the first property. It's a split upper and lower unit. Rented it to travel healthcare professionals after the pandemic. So yeah, that's kind of Giveadaam right now, is that one property. Not sure what it's going to turn into. Kind of taking a little break to regroup and, figure out what's next for Giveadaam. But yeah, got through that first property during the global pandemic.
Yeah, that's enough stress for a while.
Oh, it sure was something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So then how that timing plays out then. Yeah. So you were doing that simultaneously, it sounds like, with having like full-time gig.
Yes.
Type thing. Okay.
Yeah, so Giveadaam actually overlaps with several of my full-time gigs. So it's we're just going to go back and kind of piece together the timeline. So when I was working for Virg, it was 2018. And then I ended up leaving her to go really focus on Giveadaam. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to Green Bay. I'm going to work on this housing concept and really build this business, give it a true shot. So I'm like 25 25 at the time. Now I'm 31. Ooh, dirty 30s. And I'm back in Green Bay really growing Giveadaam. So not only am I working with this architect, I hired a general contractor. His name was Bart Reinish, who specialized in energy efficient construction before it was even cool to do energy efficient construction. So I had the two of them on my team really building this concept while I'm also starting a recycling campaign through Giveadaam. We're doing community cleanup, so really doing a lot at once. But I'm also working for Aldi at this time too, because I turned 26. I was like, I need a job that I can have insurance with and also like not have to exert a lot of Aldi, but not exert a lot of mental stamina doing a job. So doing Giveadaam, working at Aldi. Then a global pandemic hits and my burner job turns essential to society. So I'm like, good. So now it's not a burner job. I'm here during a pandemic, navigating all of that. And I'm also a manager now. So my time is split between building this concept and also working. So fast forward again, we're still building Giveadaam. Life's really rocky. We all know the pandemic. And then I found a job at Outagamie County Recycling and Solid Waste. So this is where the waste nerd in me really comes out and shines. But I ended up working full-time for Outagamie County for just over 2 years. That's a whole story in itself. So yeah, at the same time, now I'm building the Giveadaam property while I'm working full-time. And then after that, eventually finished building the property, switched jobs again. So I'm always balancing working full-time and building Giveadaam. So I tell people that it's basically a glorified hobby, Giveadaam Ventures. So yeah, just always multitasking.
Yeah. So where do you think, I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, but where does your passion for sustainability come from, grow from?
I have honestly no idea. I've thought back. I'm like, I don't even know what triggered it. I just know I was a sophomore and maybe it was because I had a really incredible environmental science teacher, because when I was a sophomore, there was a class at I went to Appleton East High School, and the environmental science class was what like juniors and seniors would take as a burner, like just a class you take to have fun, because the teacher he was incredible. But he was so passionate about environmental science. So when a little sophomore comes in the class, just nerding out about National Geographic magazine and like solar panels, all this stuff, he just latched on. And then his excitement got my excitement even more heightened. And it really like started there. I was like, okay, I can actually do this. Like he's doing it, I can do it. So after that, I just kept taking more environmental science based classes. And then obviously I went to GB, where it was just professor after professor who really just solidified the fact that you could make a job out of it. You can be excited about something that really at the time was not very mainstream. It's just getting to be mainstream, but I just always loved it, like finding ways to live exactly how we're living and just doing it better. That's it. Like, and at the end of the day, it's just learning how to do things better.
Yeah, so, just consistent improvement.
Yeah, but honestly, if it wasn't the hype for that sophomore in high school teacher, who knows?
So many things start like that, though. Like passion for sports, passion for something in a career, anything starts with a connection to someone or something that like you look up to, or see something in that you see something in yourself.
Correct.
That could be, Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I was extremely close. I almost did the sustainable management graduate degree at GB.
Yes, love it.
11th hour, I decided to do something else.
Okay.
But one of my good friends ended up doing it. And he's just wrapping up this summer. And his research is like about sustaining or increasing the efficiency or whatever you would call it of trout habitat in Wisconsin. It's a passion of his.
Yeah.
So like, he got to work on that for his capstone and all of that stuff. Is just super pumped up about it.
Absolutely. It's such a unique program to be able to run with something like that, right? Like sustainability is all over the board. It can be ecosystem related, it can be energy grid, solar, it goes all over the gamut, so it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome. At my work, actually, we convinced them to put in this big old pollinator habitat, which was awesome.
Yes. See, it's just like those little efforts, right? I mean, people always I shouldn't say people, but the concept of sustainability does not have to be something so large. Like, you don't have to be introducing giant solar fields or completely renovating your it's just the little things, right? It's doing the little pollinator gardens. It's actually participating in programs that exist, like, bottom of the line recycling. So it's little things. add
Yeah.
up to really big measures.
Yeah, and that's kind of one thing I was going to ask. That being a passion, we could talk about all the different things somebody can
gosh,
do,
for sure.
but like what areas of sustainability do you cling to? Like we have
Yeah.
parts that we like a lot, like what are obviously Giveadaam, was housing.
Yes.
Is that a main one? What areas of sustainability and like conservation do you cling to?
Yeah, so obviously with Giveadaam, it's the energy efficiency and building homes that are just use resources better and also are just more efficiently designed. So love energy efficient construction. Also have a big passion for renewable energy. So the Giveadaam house is actually going to get its solar array installed this month. The first property I had also had solar, and in college, one of my internships was at Eland Electric, a local company that installs solar arrays. So if you didn't know that, you can check them out. But yeah, we have a really solid local solar installer. So love renewable energy, love energy efficient construction, but waste. Honestly, I don't know how many people get excited about garbage, but me, I love waste optimization. And that's what I do now at Foth. Well, it's called the Foth Companies. But yeah, I'm a solid waste planner by trade now, which means basically I am helping both companies and municipalities manage their waste better. So that's everything from recycling to landfill management to educational strategies on how to get people to understand, like, hey, it's a resource. Like, we should use it better. Everything's finite. So that's really, I would say those three. It's the energy efficiency, renewable energy, garbage, waste. I love it.
Yeah. So the third piece there
Yeah.
is a part that I want to talk about.
Sure.
So that's like your current gig.
It is my current gig.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know, like I know just enough to be dangerous about that kind of thing. But
Good.
what I do know is that few things in life like turn my stomach like a landfill. Like
Wow, they're
it drives
so nice.
it drives me insane
Yeah.
how wasteful we are as a society, and just all the things that take energy and resources to create.
Yes.
They get used and then get dumped in a pile and covered up with dirt. Something
Correct.
about that to me it
Correct.
grinds my gears,
Yeah.
So like I love to hear that there's people like trying to solve that problem.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's kind of, so Foth Axla is like you're like a third party entity, right?
Correct.
So you probably enter a situation like that where like looking for a mutually beneficial win. We can save you money. We can help this. What are some things that happen in that industry? Like, I know everything progresses. I'm sure we're better than we were 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, what is that industry like, and how do people, like, one, receive your message,
Sure.
and then two, like, how do you stay invigorated about like knocking these walls down that are built for years
Not
and years
lose
and
hope.
years? Yeah.
For sure. I'll actually take it back to when I worked at Outagamie County. And it's nice because us in Brown County, it's actually part of the Tri-County Partnership. So everything that happens in Brown County, so if you would throw away something here, it'll end up going either to the Brown County landfill or the Outagamie landfill. So we're just going to go back in time a little bit. So when I worked for Outagamie County, I like to view it like the waste hierarchy, okay? So worst case scenario is those dreaded landfills, right? It is. Like when I would take people on tours, you go out to the landfill and every day you're watching this mountain of trash just get larger. So worst case scenario, you are disposing of something, gets buried for eternity. Not great. What's cool about Outagamie County and landfills now is the ability to at least try to capture some of the energy coming out of landfills. So landfills actually generate gas, and at Outagamie County, they put in a renewable natural gas facility. So at least as the garbage is decomposing in the landfill, it's beneficially being reused as energy. So you're always getting better in that regard. So, okay, it's not the best, but at least you're getting something back. So then you go a step higher. So at Outagamie County, there's a resource recovery park. So now instead of like, okay, you have, let's just say a mattress. Okay. So before you're just throwing it away, goes in landfill, done forever. Now there's programs and companies where you can bring it to a drop-off facility like the Outagamie County landfill, and companies now can pick up these materials and start recycling them. So piecing them apart, bringing them and putting them back in the circular economy. So there's always ways to reuse, repurpose materials, but if you collect them, right? So now when I work for Foth, which we serve as a consulting firm, it's, okay, can we incorporate or introduce some of these drop-off programs, work with some of these companies that are taking really hard to recycle materials that before would go in a landfill, Now we can pull materials out of them and actually make them more beneficially reused. So cool. You have your drop-off programs. Now we're repurposing materials and recycling them. Obviously, you keep going up the hierarchy, and then it's you can compost your food waste. So for us in Outagamie County, like there's or in Brown County, there's programs that collect it and do composting on the side. Or you work with companies like I do at Foth, and they're actually doing anaerobic digestion with food waste. So now you're taking your food scraps, you're not putting them in the landfill, and you're using it to make energy. So it's like everything we do can be a step higher. And then obviously it gets to the top, and we're not using or disposing of anything. We're reusing everything. So there's always a better solution to waste. So that's kind of what I get to do now, is finding like, how do we get it from the worst case scenario and keep bumping up the waste hierarchy so we're being less wasteful and less resources are being buried for eternity.
Mm-hmm. So there's a phrase that you said in there that it
curious.
makes me so happy.
Yeah.
You said you get to do it. That's really
to do it.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, hearing that the ever existing problem solver in me just like cheeses out, because it's like it's awesome to be able to think about how to make things better on a continual basis and not just like kick the can.
Correct. And it's so easy. Like, it's very possible in the United States with all the space we have. Like, we could landfill for decades upon decades, centuries. Yeah. Honestly, we've got plenty of space, but it's the organizations, the municipalities, the companies that are finding ways to take these hard to dispose of materials and be like, you know what? This actually isn't our best case scenario, because what most people don't know is like landfill construction they're so engineered and they are very expensive and very tedious to make. Like, it is a complex process to just bury your garbage, right? Like, simple concept, very complex execution. So anytime you can prevent things from going in the landfill, I mean, it's money. End of the day, it's money, it's resources, and it's allowing things to not just be wasted and giving it a different outcome.
Giving a damn.
Honestly, giving all the dams all the time. That's why I named my business what I did. More dams need to be given, right? So
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The one piece in there, the incentivization, or is that incentivizing?
Yeah.
I think that, to me, that's part that seems to be like missing a little bit from like governmental pushes.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned how expensive landfills are to own and operate, all the negatives that come with it.
Yeah. And
to me, to the layman, like outside looking in, I don't feel like there's incentive for those like difficult to recycle or reuse
Correct.
items. Being in the industry, is that like an accurate take?
It is an accurate take. Thankfully, it is getting better. So now there's more grants becoming available from either the industries that are manufacturing the materials or the government entity, like the EPA, initiating grants to help organizations like Outagamie County be able to recycle harder to recycle plastic. So perfect example are your plastic cups, like plastic number 5. It's called polypropylene, very hard to recycle. Now there's grants that exist where municipalities can apply for those, and they can get grant funding to incorporate different technologies that make it easier to pull out these materials. So within the past year, Outagamie County put in robotic equipment that literally scans all the waste going through, and it knows to pick out certain materials. So now with the incentivization of, hey, we want to be able to recover more of these materials, but how? You can apply for these grants and then incorporate new technology to be able to remove these from the waste stream, whereas before it was just going in the landfill because there was no reason to. There was no market to sell the materials once you collect them, and there was no way to efficiently pull them out of the waste stream. But there you go, because you put a grant program behind something, now you're keeping it out of the landfill.
Right. And there's another layer to that too, because that's been like a Northeast Wisconsin, Brown County thing for a while, that you hear people, well, a lot of our recycled stuff doesn't go into the recycling anyway. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean you throw everything in the garbage.
My whole thing is like, at least try. Like, if the program exists, like, yes, it's so easy. I'm just going to throw it all away.
Yeah.
Cool. That's wonderful. But there's ways we can be better all the time. And my whole thing, because when I was at Outagamie County, I was the educator. So you're constantly smashing your head against the wall. Like, how do I get this message across? Like, hey, don't put your plastic bags in there. Oh, okay. Why? Well, And then I put guys on the internet and it went viral. And this is why, because it tangles up the machines and people get upset about it. So it's a constant battle, but there's still so many reasons to try because it is a program that works if you follow the guidelines, like anything.
Mm-hmm. So kind of building on this conversation, a question I have, what is like, I notice like there's a lot of rural communities in Wisconsin. Yes. A lot don't seem to have access to a recycling program.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, you bring it to like a facility or something.
Correct.
What is like the future of that industry in our state and beyond?
Yeah. So with the rural communities, thankfully there's a lot of new organizations that are working towards, again, incentivizing, starting collection systems, like getting these municipalities recycling carts. Like that's a big first step. And that's actually what a lot of our job involves right now, is helping these rural communities just get the infrastructure to be able to recycle at the curb rather than bringing it to a drop-off facility. Because we know if there's not a convenient way to do something, nobody does the right thing. Like it's just, that's the truth. Mm-hmm. So where it is for the rural communities right now, it's just first building the infrastructure. So thankfully there's groups like the Recycling Connection who does grant programs for recycling carts for rural communities. But at the end of the day, it all like relies on either the municipality clerks working with groups like FOTH or them taking the initiative to be like, hey, we need to build this infrastructure and reach out to groups that are offering grant programs. So it's building the infrastructure, unfortunately. So it takes time.
Yeah. And it's kind of like incentivizing from a different angle.
It is
super interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Who like, what level are a lot of those strings moved at? Does a lot of that happen at the state level where the decisions are made?
Yeah, sometimes, at least as it relates to the funding available for programs like that. But it boils down to your county governments or even like your city, your townships.
Okay, so it does trickle down that far.
It absolutely does. So when I was at Outagamie, I always bring it back to Outagamie because that just makes most sense. But part of my job was applying for the annual recycling grant through the state. So yeah, it boils down as small as your local government.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, and then you put that into perspective, like say some municipality like is on the fringe of having enough money to hire your position. Correct. That you employed. Okay. They don't have that, but then there's no one to apply for the grant. Right. And then all the plastic bottles go in the burn barrels.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, right? Like that's the problem. And what I also advise people, if they are in an area that doesn't have infrastructure available, like it's a matter of talking with your elected officials and talking with your municipality officials because they're the ones who start the conversation. So without people speaking up and being like, hey, why don't we have this? Like, I don't want to be burning this and I don't want to be throwing away all my stuff. Like it eventually, like it builds up. So it's not just like, oh, the state says it, that's the rule. No, there's a lot of control that comes from your local government too.
And there's actually like, there's probably like a good feeling of power in that because that as powerless as we are in like a lot of facets of government, like our local government, we can still like make our opinion known and actually make things happen. I saw a wild thing recently, and it was with. Are you an Office fan? Do you watch The Office at all?
I do watch The Office. Heck yeah, I do.
So I see Andy Bernard on this stage with another dude talking like not in character. Obviously, he's being himself. I can't even remember his name right now, but talking about like our political system. And I was like enough taken aback that I watched this entire video, and there was a striking stat in there. I can't even remember what their like objective or the name of their organization was, but the hook was that there is say like an objective or an initiative has 0% public backed like perception, like nobody wants something. There's a 30% chance that thing gets enacted into law. Now, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, say there's 100% public support of something, there's a 30% chance that it gets enacted into a law.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same exact thing across the board. So, like, bring that to, like, I can go to my local municipality and be like, I want to recycle. And actually maybe, like, Talk about how to actually create change as opposed to the dialogue that happens a lot where it's like it's a lot of like truly banging your head against the wall.
Correct. And I should state too that we're kind of lucky in the state of Wisconsin that it is a state statute that it's illegal to not recycle. So if your municipality isn't recycling and is not providing you the infrastructure to do it, it's technically illegal. So it's a fun fact. I wish I could remember the statute off the top of my head. Don't tell my former or current employer that I can't think of it right now. But yeah, it's a state statute. It is illegal to dispose of your common recyclable materials, your plastic bottles, your aluminum cans, cardboard. Illegal, technically. So that was my favorite job of the county, being a recycling police. You literally could write tickets for not recycling.
Really?
Yeah, your apartment complex, if they're not doing it, they can technically get fined from the county.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It's illegal.
That's something I've never known. So probably one of those things that doesn't have much teeth because there's not a ton of enforcement, right? Like,
and it takes someone who's a big old nerd to enforce it because it takes time, right? Like nobody likes to fill out paperwork and be like, you didn't recycle. Like you feel like a big dork. But at the end of the day, like if nobody's enforcing a law or a rule, it doesn't get followed. But state of Wisconsin has that statute. Whereas some of the states I work with, like if you go down south to Louisiana, or I shouldn't just throw states out here because I don't know, but I know a lot of states do not have laws that require you to recycle. So we're lucky in a way.
That's fascinating. So then where does the onus of that fall most of the time? Like can that fall on a municipality for not having an offering to do it?
Yes, it definitely can, because that was a part of my job at the county. You could go either to, like, I don't want to throw a municipality under the bus, but so-and-so municipality, hey, I heard that you do not have a recycling system in place, like, according to statute, insert the number here, it's required. So they have a set amount of time, and you have to implement something. But there you go. That's what a rural community could do.
That's fascinating.
Recycling police.
Yeah. No. Like I'm just thinking of you in like tinted windows with like sunglasses on, like looking around.
It was never. And did you ever watch any of the videos I made at Outagamie County?
I feel like I did.
Maybe.
Yes. So something clicked when you said that something went viral.
Yeah.
And I vaguely remember it, but I can't bring them out of my mind's bank. Like, tell me about them a little bit.
Yeah. So when one of my favorite hobbies, and this goes back to high school, college, I love making videos, like just editing, not great ones, but just, it's fun. It's fun for me to produce concepts and just bring them to life. So when I was at the county, a big like red flag for me was the plastic bag problem. I was like, how is this still a big issue? And they're like, oh, well, it's like, we haven't allowed plastic bags forever. I'm like, well, somebody's got to do something about this. Like, this isn't fair. So we had this maintenance man, Phil, just big, burly guy. And I was like, do you want to be on video explaining why this is a bad thing? He's like, sure, sign me up. So we made a video about him just like explaining how plastic bags don't go into recycling. So we came up with a catchphrase, a character name. He was Filthy Film, play off his name, and plastic bags. And his catchphrase was, don't be a drag, dump out your bag. And his whole concept was, do not put this crap in the recycling. So ultimately his character got more aggressive. And this was during like the peak rise of TikTok. So we got on TikTok. He goes viral, right, for being aggressive about pulling stuff out of the recycling machinery. So we're like, okay, like how much more can we do? So we started making more characters to explain, recycling. So Filthy Film was joined by Hey It's Jose, who was our bilingual, just general recycling guy. He danced in a pink stuffed animal at one point, like just ridiculous stuff. And then we added Dan the Loaderman, Hazardous Hal, Polystyrene, you name it, any character we could to help explain proper recycling, but making it entertaining, because the whole thing is, as you know, as a marketer, people don't care unless they're entertained. So traditionally, sustainability, environmentalism, garbage, not sexy, right? Like not fun to pay attention to. It's like, oh yeah, don't put it in your recycling. People are like, got it. Still do it. So we made it entertaining. We put it on TikTok. It worked. We went viral 4 separate times, like going viral, insane. What a fun concept. But yeah, it ended up, we were on the Weather Channel a couple times, hit some national broadcasts, which was really cool. But yeah, all about properly recycling your materials.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
And talk like
it's ridiculous.
It's weird, but it's ridiculous, but it's weird to say now how that is how we move the needle.
Correct.
Now, because like still more sets of eyes have more value, right?
Correct.
And like, I guarantee that they've had a difference in the amount of those plastic bags that come through. And you're talking like the plastic, like grocery bags, right?
Yes.
Because like you bring those and you put them in the big bucket at the grocery store that they say you want them in.
Yep.
Okay.
And that actually is a good thing. And I know for a fact those do get recycled. They get turned into park benches and kayaks because a company called Trex usually collects those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, your plastic grocery bags, boom, you just got yourself a kayak.
Yeah.
How cool. Like, that's the power of waste. It's just fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to stay on that subject for a little bit. Like, how was it received at the beginning? Like, whoever your supervisor was to be like, I want to do these videos and spend my time. Like, did you get any eye rolls saying like, what a waste of time or anything like that?
So thankfully, and this could have been shot down right away. So we made the first video, which was very tame. Like, he wasn't aggressive yet. It was basically a run of the mill, like, hey, kids, don't be a drag.
Yeah.
So I presented it to our director. I went right to the top because I'm like, if this is going to get shut down, like, I want it shut down right away and I'll dial it back.
Yep.
Thankfully, he had a wonderful sense of humor, so he's like, go for it. I said, okay. So we did, and then we just got more and more strange with it, right? Like, then he got more aggressive. Then we're doing, like, Tommy Boy skits, but making it recycling. Like, it went all over the board. Like, oh God, it was just so funny. And yeah, I mean, it worked. Like, our Hazardous Hal character was one of my favorites because we just made him only use 80s rock references. So he wore a mullet, he wore jorts, he only spoke in 80s lingo, but his whole focus was telling you, like, hey, don't put pesticides down your drain. Like, don't be a pain. keep it on the drain. Like, just dumb stuff, but it works, right? Like, it's funny and it's waste. So yeah, I went right to the director and I said, this is what I'd like to do. And these videos took me less than an hour, right? Like, it was between doing grant proposals and calling vendors and picking up commodities. Like, it was a job, right? Like, I worked for the county, but then I was like, hey, I'm going to do these videos on the side. And honestly, it made all the difference because I like to think that's what got me hired at Foth.
Absolutely.
I put guys on the internet.
For sure. Well, people listen to people and cut off jean jackets.
Yeah, they do, man. Jorts, like, I bet you a lot of people said, you're right, I will not put my antifreeze down my sink because Hal told them not to. Can guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely.
I doubt it, but it's okay. We tried.
But yeah, I mean, you think about, like, so that's what, it probably is what got you hired in it's one part of many things, right? Really, what got you hired is your passion about it, because that's what makes the creativity come to life and makes you actually invest time and energy into being creative around something, as opposed to, like, doing the same old, and that's what's been done, and it's safe and it's comfortable. Correct. And it ends up with thousands of these bags that aren't supposed to be there going in there. Yeah. But, there's layers to that onion that it always starts with passion. It always starts with passion. But yeah, like just the awareness, I guess, to send a message. So I'm like, we're talking about nerding out on things. One thing that I nerd out on about is storytelling. Like how a story can, like, impact what happens. Correct. Right. And that, as a marketer or a writer or a creator or whatever you are, like, holds a lot of power be able to, like, navigate somebody's thought process, or, like, even get wheels turning about it. Correct. And, like, sure, you may have went at that situation a little bit differently than a lot of others had, but ultimately you were still trying to tell the story, and what you did effectively was got people to listen. Exactly. And along the route of storytelling, people are also very visual, right? Like, you can tell them till you're blue in the face. Like, we'll just keep using the plastic bag reference. For years and years and years, don't put these in your recycling. Keep happening. Yep. Okay, let's change the messaging. Why is this not working? Boils down to human psychology too. So I was like, okay, I like making videos and I know people are visual. So let's show them behind the scenes, like, okay, why? Like, why shouldn't you do this? So then it was bringing them along to the process, bringing them into the equipment where it was like, okay, you're doing this. Please don't do it. Okay, got it.
and this is why. Because now you'll see this bag going through the system, which we took them right in the machine. So now they're getting to see the whole process. It's like, okay, it starts here, it goes through, now it's in the machine, now it's a problem. Now look how mad you made these people. And obviously we made them more mad than they actually are, which helps. But showing, like, telling the full story, not just like, don't do it, that's why, period. It's, okay, don't do this. Let me show you the whole thing, take you on a journey. And we did virtual walkthroughs because it was during the pandemic. So it just worked out, like showing them the whole process, taking them in the equipment, showing them like just how much issues it causes. And people are like, oh, now I get it. Like, now I understand why I shouldn't be doing this because it causes X, Y, Z. And I'm like, yes, because now you see what we see every single day. Just like the landfill, right? Like, once you show people like, this is how disgusting it is, it's like that aha moment. We need that emotional connection, which is the power of storytelling. Like, oh, I got it now. Like, I really shouldn't be doing that because I see it in front of me. And you're like, thank you. It's the power of storytelling. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's funny to think about, because when you think about just our culture in general, I think sometimes there's maybe bad raps thrown around that we lack empathy in certain spots. But I think part of it is that people don't take the time to understand. I mean, you brought up human psychology. I've been known to be a little bit stubborn. And if someone just says, don't do this, something in me just makes me want to do it just because.
Exactly. Right. Like, it's all just like, okay, let's get in the head of like somebody. Like, you're normal. My whole thing is like, is it easy enough for a third grader to follow it? So you'll watch these videos and a third grader would love it, but also so like an adult can follow it. Like, oh, I get it. Even though this man's dancing around in a sombrero and a pink bear, like, I understand why I should not put this in the recycling now. But it's human psychology. Why is it not working? Can I change the messaging?
And when you can put someone in at least that they can envision themselves in those shoes and be like, man, what if I had to clean out this machine that got plugged up 5 times a day? Or
exactly.
I think it's an awareness issue more than an empathy issue. And, you know, and at the same time, like, a lot of people get a pass, right? Because we are inundated with stuff all the time, all day, every day. There's so much noise in our just like being. Correct. That like our brains have really determined how to process things, right? What and where. And if it takes, you know, hey, Jose, to tell you that the machine's getting plugged up, like whatever captures those eyes. And that's probably like, I don't know if you still make the videos or not, but that's probably you look at it the same way, right? Like, you want this municipality to hear your message. How do you make it happen?
Correct. And now, like, I don't obviously make those videos anymore because I'm not there, but since I made them on a platform that's easy to share, which was the whole point. Like, how can you do something once and be able to distribute it as effectively and widespread as possible? So TikTok was beautiful for that. So now, like, in my role at Foth, if I'm working with a client, say in Minnesota, I'm like, hey, I know it's not the same, but like, if you're having an issue with this category, again, we'll use plastic bags. I'm like, here are 7 videos you can easily share on your social media. The message is still the same. Like, it might not be the same place, it might not be the same people, but it's the same problem. And this problem is not just like centralized, like we are the only municipality that has issues with this. No, it's a nationwide issue. So these messages are good to just widespread share. So that's what I get to do now. I'm like, excellent. I'm really glad I made those videos because now it's helping me in this new role where I'm like, okay, like we'll spread it to Minnesota or Illinois or insert state here. So
absolutely,
it works.
So does any of your work travel outside of the country? Like, is it worldwide or how does that work?
I'm sure it will be. I think this is my 10th week at Foth.
I know.
It's all right. She's a career hopper. No, she's not. It all follows a theme. But I'm sure it will because we work with a lot of companies who are making technologies in different countries that we're bringing to the U.S. So perfect example is a lot of the European countries, since they don't have the luxury of space like we do in the U.S., they are more focused on the waste to energy industries where they're taking our garbage that's going in the landfill and they're using it to incinerate, not in a dirty, disgusting, it's very regulated, but they use it to to make energy because they don't have the space to dispose of our waste indefinitely. So we take concepts like that and working with clients in the U.S., I'm like, okay, like, we're pulling from these engineers from other countries and helping our United States clients solve their very complex problems, but I'm sure we'll be going all over. I hope it'd be pretty cool. But right now, no, it's pretty central to the U.S., but there's always opportunity.
Yeah. That brought something up from my memory. I wonder if you've heard of it. I can't remember where I even saw this, but it was a super interesting stat that, I need to remember how it went, actually. I'm going to mess it up somewhere for sure, but it was something along the lines of, if the entire country was run on, now I'm drawing a blank on even the name.
Like, throw something in here for you. Run on.
Yeah, it's about the power grid. Nuclear. If the entire country was run on nuclear power,
sure.
The entire waste that was created of that, I think the time frame was a year, but like I said, I'm going to mess up something about this. Sure. But whatever the time frame was, all of the waste would have fit inside of one normal sized Walmart, and that isn't
that fascinating?
Blew my mind. Is that anything you've ever heard of or?
Honestly, not that specific fact, but I'm not discrediting that it's true because, I mean, it all depends if it's nuclear, right? Like, maybe it's possible. But no, never heard that glorious fact, so I'll take it.
It was super. I just remember being flabbergasted by it.
Yes.
And like, I generally, I like to think I'm hard to trick.
Sure. You do your research.
So I don't remember what the outlet was, but it seemed like it to come from a justifiable source, and that
TikTok,
blew my mind.
Folks.
Probably, yeah. Maybe it was hazardous. It was probably hazardous hell.
It was. He's like, you want to know something? Your standard Walmart. Just kidding.
It takes all the.
I'm sure it's legit.
That's so funny.
Yeah, hazardous hell, man. What a guy.
I'm gonna have to dig those up. So that
Please do.
They're still there, right? Did anybody take over content creation?
So I know the guy who took my job after me. He goes, "I'm leaving those untouched because I was like, I am so sorry." But there was a point where all the talk about taking down TikTok and a lot of government agencies are like, we're gonna not be on this platform for security purposes. So they did tell me at one point that we're gonna have to take everything down, and I was like, oh no, it's still there. So we're good. Nice. 2 years later, still exists. So if anyone from the county is listening, please don't take them down. I'm still using those videos.
Leave those, please.
They're still very helpful.
They're still getting traction. Maybe they can monetize,
come on, right? We could have been influencers.
Yeah.
You can't with the government, but still, like to think.
Yeah. So one more topic today.
I'm ready.
I want to do an homage. I know you talked about Jordan earlier. Shout out to Jordan Dici.
Yes.
What a classic conversation of ours. This is going to go in classic Jordan fashion. This is going to go 180 degrees way out of left field.
Oh, I love it.
If you if you had to choose one cheese to eat for the rest of your life, you could only have one. What type of cheese would you pick?
Well, super disappointing you chose cheese because I've learned as I'm getting older that I am very lactose intolerant. So man, if I had to, that sounds like torture, but let's pretend not lactose intolerant. Like I can eat it forever because the girl loves dairy. So this has not been a good transition for me. I would say mozzarella. No. Pepper jack. Pepper jack, final answer.
I love it.
A little spice. It's good. Good on everything.
I love it. So that very, very close to my answer.
Is it?
Yeah. So I teeter between pepper jack and Monterey Jack because I can always add pepper.
Yeah, always.
Always add peppers into the Monterey Jack.
Yeah, you can.
But it's so versatile.
It is. It's so good.
It's great on tacos. Yep. You could make pizza with Monterey Jack.
Yes, you can.
It's good on pasta.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep. So, honestly, I know what I'm getting into. So sometimes I'll be like, this is worth all the pain. And that pepper jack cheese, way to my heart.
Oh, lactose intolerant.
I know. How rude. Like my whole life, all good. Then I turned dirty 30 and it's like,
and it just came out.
It's just like, you know what? You're not going to process this very well anymore. I was like, cool.
And all the good things you've done, that makes me not believe in karma.
And honestly, how rude. I'm out here picking up trash on my walks. And they're like, you know what? you're not going to get
No
the joy
more
of
cheese for you.
Ice cream, forget it. Unless you want ridiculous, no. No, why not? So I'm like, it's worth the pain sometimes.
They make those cheeses that are out of like almond milk, you know?
It's not the same.
They probably like don't even melt.
Have you ever tried them?
No.
They're kind of like, they do their best. Like, I mean, it's okay.
They're out there trying.
They're really trying, and I'm thankful for it. But like, you ever have a taco dip with fake cheese? I'm like, this is criminal. Yeah. I'm like, good effort.
No cream
really,
cheese,
I'm
no
like, I'd
sour
rather
cream.
starve.
Making it out of
no cream cheese, no sour cream, no cheese on top. I'm like,
your taco dip is like
couldn't even
tomatoes and green onions.
Basically, with like this weird paste that came from like chickpeas or something. Which I love chickpeas, but like again, you want a taco dip.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Everybody's eating their taco dip and you're having salsa.
I honestly, and it's such a shame. If I want to be responsible, right?
Well,
Stupid.
I'm super happy with the pepper jack / Monterey Jack response because it's the right answer.
Thank you.
I can't even remember what Jordan's was.
Probably something bizarre, like a Brazilian pine nut cheese from the forests of somewhere.
There is one weird one. So I think in classic fashion, I think he ran the gamut. There was he has an infatuation with American cheese. Like he'll tout American cheese because like
the singles.
American cheese in general. But yeah,
I'm like the craft singles.
But then on the flip side, I know he did have a really really strange one that was like he dug out of the depths of like weirdness. That was good.
And I don't know if he told you, but which I doubt it, but he was actually one of my interns. So that's how I met Jordan. When I was doing too much starting Giveadaam and working on the designs, I decided to have a cross-campus internship program where I pulled a student from GB, St. Norbert, and NWTC to work on our marketing initiative. I mean, it worked. I have no idea what made these 3 students want to work with us, but that's how I met Jordan. And it was honestly some of the most memorable experiences ever. So now I get to answer questions about cheese and hear all of his random facts that I never believe. I'm like, was that accurate? He's like, no.
No.
I was like, good.
Completely
I have trust
made
issues
up.
now. So yeah, he was actually one of Giveadaam's interns. So
nice.
Fun fact, he actually got class credit working with me.
That's awesome.
I was like, cool. Fooled him. Just kidding. I'm kidding. We did marketing analytics. NWTC don't come for me. There was data.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to chat. Yeah. Like I said from the beginning, just like outside looking in, I think that's probably when I first became aware. Because I knew of Giveadaam Ventures then. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably how. It probably came up in Jordan. Conversation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then just like, I think recently I probably added you on LinkedIn. And like the fascinating career path always means someone's following their passions.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I appreciate that so much because so many people don't. And, it definitely fit the bill. So I appreciate you coming in and chatting for a little while.
Hey, anytime I can explain and I didn't even get to a fraction of it. So yeah, I appreciate being here. Thanks for talking with me about garbage.
And from now on, every time we ever cross paths, I'm going to think of nickel cabbage.
Beautiful. I thought you were going to say jorts. I was like, sure, whatever.
Jorts too.
Whatever makes you tick.
Thank you, Marissa.
Yeah, of course.